Good evening. My name is Chris Fall. I will be President Pro Tem for this evening. Kent Butler and Sam Crowell are not in with us today, and Chris Knisley will be our Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. Tonight we're going to be meeting in several committee sessions, and then we will have a special session right afterwards. First on the committee agenda is City and Safety Services. The chair for that is Kent Butler. He's not here. I'm vice chair. So I'd like to bring 3 articles forward. The Arts West AMAC proposed patio mural, the mutual aid agreement with the City of Dayton, and City County Sewer Expansion Area, Project 317, which is sexy. Right. So I'd like to invite, who's here for the AMAC person? Is Carol here? Not yet.
I think I may go ahead.
Okay, you can. Thank you.
A little bit of information on it. Carol Patterson, former city council person and now chair of the Municipal Arts Commission, conveyed information to City Council this past week to Kent Butler, and has some images that I think we can share on the computer screen. This is a proposed project at Arts West, and this is for an outdoor patio area. And then there's another image for some additional artwork on the walls at Arts West. And at their June 12th council meeting, the Municipal Arts Commission voted unanimously to support this project idea. It doesn't need anything council approval. It's just rather more an FYI for council members to know that this project will be going on, because it's going to be done with in-house staffing.
Great. Thank you. Questions? Great. That's awesome. More public art. Thank you. The mutual aid agreement with the City of Dayton. Chris Knisley has that.
Okay. I do have some information from our Service Safety Director, Andy Stone. This is a mutual aid agreement primarily with the police department, and is similar to other city agreements in Dayton and also in Columbus and Cleveland, but this particular one would be with Dayton. And this would provide capability both ways, so that if we were in need of assistance here in the city for some kind of disaster or emergency situation, that their officers would be able to come and work here. Likewise, as in the case of the tornado, I know that Mayor Patterson was in communication with Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, seeing if she needed any services. So in the future, this would provide the official document where they can request each other's services back and forth.
And this will come before council.
I believe that one will, yes.
Okay. Questions, comments? Pretty straightforward. And now the City County Sewer Expansion Area, Project 317, okay. Which is the design of the 2 water lines that are going to be going out into the county.
Correct. And this particular appropriation that's coming forward would be for design of water lines on Dairy Lane. And it is in conjunction, as you said, with the city and county sewer extension. And the design costs for this, Service Safety Director Andy Stone anticipates will be about $30,000 to $40,000. So once again, an authorization and appropriation for those amounts.
Right. And this project has been ongoing for at least 6 years, probably even longer than that. So the city and county had to go and do a lot of negotiation and working together to be able to put this expansion through. So
I did. And this is a good opportunity to upgrade those lines on Dairy Lane.
Right. Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. That's it for the City and Safety Services. Next up is Transportation Committee, which is chaired by Pete Katsas. Great, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you. It's just you and me tonight, Patrick. So this evening, we have actually there's 2 bullet points this evening. The first one is a presentation from Richard Linscott, who is a representative from the West Side Neighborhood Association, and they are seeking a street closure. And so, Richard, yes, please, if you could go up to the podium and state your name and address. Whenever. It doesn't have to happen right away.
Right.
So.
I'm Richard Linscott. I live at 95 Central. I'm here from the West Side Community Association. We are asking for a street closure between Wallace Drive and Walker that would impact the number 1 and number 3 Miller. We're requesting that street closure because we were planning an event at Arts West, and as part of that event, we would like to have the ability to host food trucks, and the driveway at Arts West is too steep for those low-bedded trucks to crest that hill. And so we were hoping that we could get this small road closure. The hope is that we would be able to keep Wallace Drive and Walker open so that residents that are on Miller that need to exit can, and if you are attempting to access First Street from State Street, you could still take Wallace Drive. I reached out to the people at 1 and 3. I haven't been able to contact the homeowners at 1, but the people at 3 Miller was able to speak with them, and they're supportive of the idea. We would also be trying to work something out with the city so that we could reserve a couple handicapped spots near the cemetery for when we won't be able to access the parking lot for that event. But that's pretty much what we're asking for.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
And the date for this closure?
September 7th.
Okay.
We would like to have it for the bulk of that day. The event would be over by 8 p.m. so that any noise from deconstructing that event or any trucks moving out or anything would be over, ideally by 9, but definitely by 10. Yeah.
Okay. Member McGee.
What times did you want, and is this going to involve any kind of alcohol on public streets, anything like that?
We would be seeking an F2 permit. We would have people stationed so that that did not leave the Arts West grounds, so that would not come out onto the street or onto the sidewalk. And the planned time right now is from 2 to 8 would be the duration of the event right now. We may shrink that event, and that we would need a little bit of lead time so that so that trucks and tents and things could be set up in the parking lot. Does that answer your question?
Well,
Have I missed
with the
something?
lead time, I was wondering what time you wanted the street closed.
I would say 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. would cover the setup and the closure.
Okay. And just to clarify, Miller Avenue, if you were standing on West State looking directly at Arts West, it's the street just to the right that.
Right, that's where Miller starts, right there. Yep.
Okay, and then and actually, now that I'm a little bit curious with Member McGee's questions. Could you talk about what's the whole event? What do you? I guess what.
So the idea is that September 7th is the first full weekend that students are back. So the idea is kind of have like a neighborhood icebreaker, something that would draw in students and residents, and ideally get some more people involved in the events that we've been doing as the WCA. The main thing that we've been doing so far is the quick pick events in our neighborhood, just trying to keep our more trafficked streets litter-free, and when students return, we're going to need to do that more frequently, and I guess trying to organize our community around having a positive impact on whatever the West Elementary situation pans out to, and so the hope is just kind of have an event with a live stage, as well as inviting in some of the nonprofits that operate around the city, but musical acts and businesses, I guess, that focus specifically on the West Side. A lot of the times when students or non-students move to the West Side, you don't really know exactly what's going on. The West Side doesn't receive a lot of attention or whatever, and but we do have a lot of cool, unique Athens businesses and a lot of cool stuff going on in our neighborhood. And so, yeah, I guess just kind of a neighborhood icebreaker to get everybody, welcome everyone to the neighborhood and get ready for another year together.
Okay, perfect. Administration.
Yes, I'm not sure if you've spoken with city administration with
I spoke to Ron
Deputy
Lucas.
Service Safety Director.
Yeah.
Okay. I did speak with the mayor this afternoon, and he's entirely supportive of the idea of increasing the visibility of the community association and their work and wanting to make stronger links with the students, particularly. And I know both the university and the community have been eager to start activities as soon as the students come back. In this particular instance, the mayor at least and probably the service safety director are not supportive of closing off Miller Avenue because it would set a precedent for starting to close off the streets in the neighborhoods. His suggested option of reworking that as a possibility is to make some metered parking spaces available on West State Street where the food buggies could go. And that way you could still maintain traffic into and out of Arts West or, pedestrian traffic. But he was reluctant to shut off Miller Avenue.
Okay. Member McGee.
Just one thing, since you mentioned the live music, and I know it's not within the time periods of the noise ordinance, but it might be necessary to have a variation on the noise ordinance as well.
It would need an ordinance. The noise ordinance is enforced 24 hours a day. So it would need legislation on that if there was going to be amplified music.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions at this time? Okay. Richard, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay. My second and final bullet point this evening is a lease renewal with Ohio University, and you hope to learn something new every day. I checked the box with this one in that our parking garage encroaches on a parcel that belongs to Ohio University, and so we have a 25-year lease that is coming up. So the last time it happened was when I was 23 years old. I don't remember it happening. I must have been doing some other things. But it's time.
It's a very small parcel. The city owns the garage, the parking garage building, but the land on which it sits, there's a very small corner back by the stairway and the elevator shaft for the parking garage that is OU land, and so they renew it on a lease basis, $1 for 25 years. So that allows us to have the rest of the parking garage on that land.
And just for clarification, this is back where the university's little parklet is? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And do we have any questions on that one? With that, I am done.
Great.
Thank you.
Next will be the Committee of the Whole. We have 2 agenda items. We'll be talking about the compost program and local bag tax preemption, which is House Bill 242. So come on down. It's so small. So who would like to take the composting and talk about that? We have people who are here to talk about it. Sam was kind of the key person on that, so he's not
Some
here.
of the history, I do know that the mayor has been very supportive, as has the administration and council members, of the pilot composting project, which has gone for some months. We had it originally for 6 months, and then it was renewed for 3, and the 3-year extension, or the 3-month extension, excuse me, is now up. And so there have been some conversations with, drawing a blank on her name. Yeah, Athens Hocking Recycling, and so we do have a presentation. We did have some information presented to council last week, And we tonight have Andrea, I believe, is here to make some additional presentation, as is Bruce Underwood, about the results of the composting program. And then we do have some thoughts coming from the administration on how we might address composting in the city and how we can see if we can keep this going. So I would think we'll probably have the presentations first. I can present some administration's information and then questions and comments.
And Jeff, you have some update too on it. So, as much as their administration. So.
And can I just make just to clarify, I thought we did a 6-month pilot, and then we renewed for 6 months. Is
Or
that
six,
correct?
excuse me,
Yes,
6
okay.
and 6. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the correction.
Great. Thank you for coming.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me again. I'm going to plan to talk for 5 minutes, and then Bruce will take over for the next 5 minutes. So I'm Andrea Rainey, and I'm here representing Rural Action Zero Waste Program. To start the conversation, I'm just planning to briefly cover 4 main topics: fee structure of the city's waste services, sustainability, education and promotion, and ideas for next steps. Fee structure. The city has not changed its trash and recycling rates since 2010. City Council has had recent conversations on changing it, and this could be an opportune time to introduce a new composting service for a fee. On an informal survey of compost pilot participants with a response rate of 34%, the most frequently chosen response is that they would be willing to pay a total of between $20 and $35 per month for waste hauling services that included composting. This is not a recommendation for what the fees should be necessarily, but simply just an indication that there is willingness among participants to pay for this valuable and innovative service. There are many options for changing the rate structure to meet financial needs and sustainability goals. The city already has a pay-as-you-throw trash system, or system for trash and recycling, which financially incentivizes the resident to divert waste from the landfill, and this structure could be reviewed. If the true costs of landfilling waste are paid by the ratepayers and reduction and diversion strategies are easy and affordable, it can help the city meet its goals. Composting could be structured like recycling, in which every household pays a recycling support fee. This would bring down cost per household significantly. However council chooses to alter the rate structure, we believe fees should at least cover the base cost of providing the hauling and processing, and additional monies could go toward the city's trash and recycling fund. Sustainability. The U.S. EPA estimates that approximately 30% of the average household's waste is compostable, and that 30 to 40% of all available food ends up wasted in landfills or incinerators. In the Athens Sustainability Action Plan, the city commits to composting 50% of organic material by 2020, reducing its contribution to the waste stream and greenhouse gas emissions. We believe the curbside composting program is the most efficient, measurable, and cost-effective way to achieve this goal. Rural Action is interested in continuing the conversation around supplementing curbside collection with decentralized and individual backyard composting initiatives. After 3 years of research on best practices for municipal programs, analyzing our local context, and because so much has already been invested in curbside collection, we strongly recommend the city's main approach to residential organics diversion remain the curbside service. We understand Council is currently considering an opt-in structure to continue the program. However, to make the service available and affordable to more residents, including the 70% of Athens population who are renters, we recommend that in the long term, the compost program be citywide, just as trash and recycling are. Studies show that opt-in city services typically see around 30 to 40% participation rate, while opt-out programs generally see 60 to 70% participation rate. Higher participation means more food waste diverted from the landfill, which benefits all of us and helps the city achieve its stated goals. Education and promotion. The most important element to the success of a waste diversion program is the city's investment on educating and engaging its participants. Accurate, proactive, and consistent messaging not only increases participation rates in recycling and compost programs, but it also decreases contamination by educating residents on source reduction and also what is and is not recyclable or compostable. Over the long term, reducing contamination lowers program costs. If the city intends to continue curbside composting at a programmatically and financially sustainable way, we would recommend annual communications via print, mail, email, social media, and so on, covering the basic do's and don'ts of composting and frequent troubleshooting messages to address contamination issues as they arise. So as for the next steps, based on the following information, our ideas for action steps that the city can take are the following. Within the next 1 to 2 months, approve a continuation of the curbside compost service wherein the resident is responsible for paying a to-be-determined support fee so that the city no longer subsidizes the program. The target number of participating households will need to be determined ahead of time to calculate the cost. Within the next 3 to 6 months, conduct a financial analysis to determine the amount that waste disposal fees should increase to ensure that the cost of the hauling and processing contract with AHRC is covered and that the city's trash and recycling fund remains solvent for many years to come. Thank you for your time and consideration of this program.
Thank you. Any questions? Administration, questions? Okay. All right. Patrick.
I do have a question, and first I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I know you and I had talked briefly last time, and I really emphasized that I was concerned about the educational aspects of your program and how I believe that the citizens should understand what composting really is and what it entails. And I'm not sure whether I understand, though, what you actually propose other than sending out like emails or writing. Do you have anything else in mind other than?
So as a separate from just the compost program, Rural Action does education at a community level with businesses and schools and also just residents. So we have our Zero Waste Pledge program that engages with businesses and schools and organizations on reducing waste and recycling and composting more. And then also on the residential side, within the past year, we've launched a master recycler program where adults interested in, it's similar to Master Gardeners, so adults interested in being trained up in waste-related topics can come through our training program, and then they engage in community service projects, which definitely can include increasing composting in the community. And yeah, other than that, within the compost program itself, we've done things that I listed in the presentation as far as like, the print communications, email communications, and survey, and then also have a pretty active Facebook group where participants in the program ask each other questions, they ask me questions, and engage in different conversations about the compost program.
If I could make two suggestions to you. One is, you mentioned the schools. I would love to see the schools actually participate in some sort of composting on the school so that the students could see what happens to the food as it is transmitted into soil. And the second thing, I would hope that maybe you could take something out to the farmers market and show people what composting systems are sometimes.
Yeah.
Not just a tumbler, but an actual system so that the public can see it, because there's a big difference between handing someone a flyer or sending them an email and actually having something that's interesting so they can see. These don't take a lot of scientific knowledge to know how to compost. So I would hope any hands-on kind of thing you would do.
And actually, one of our AmeriCorps members is in the audience today, Megan Almeida. She did a recent organized an educational event at the farmers market, had a booth. I think more of the topic was recycling this time, but it was really popular and planned to do it again. So.
Great. Pete?
Yes, thank you. And I don't know, just listening to your presentation, was there a suggestion for either an opt-in or an opt-out program? Or is that not?
Yeah, and I think
Bruce
is also going to talk a little bit about this.
Okay.
I think there's kind of two sides to the conversation: what happens in the short term with the program, and then also the long-term sustainability of a program that could be citywide. And from our research, a program that would be opt-out, so similar to what is in place already for the recycling service in Athens. Everybody has to pay the fee if you pay a water bill. We would recommend that type of structure is in place for a citywide program so that enough people, there's a a critical mass of people participating in the program to bring down the cost for everyone, including the resident in the city. As far as in the short term, HRC had included the 1,000 households on their bid back in March, and that would be an opt-in program, so just meeting that 1,000 household quota, which would have a higher cost to the resident. And I think we see that as a shorter term solution to expanding the program, hopefully citywide, so that it's accessible to more people. So yeah, I think it's kind of two different conversations almost.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to come up and thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Underwood, Director at Athens Recycling. I'd just like to start off to say that, HRC, we want to continue to be a partner with the city to, keep the compost going. We think it's important for many reasons. We think of the landfill diversion, the other environmental effects of that, reducing carbon emissions from our waste stream. So we think it's important and want to continue that partnership. But recycling has a cost, whether it's traditional household recycling, whether it's trash, whether it's food waste collection, yard waste collection, all those things have a cost. And I think we have an opportunity here, as Andrea had mentioned, when we're, the city's re-examining the rate codes for all these different services. I think there's a really big opportunity to look at it holistically and look at all these individual pieces and how that works across the city, not just from, the individual household with 4 units or less, but also, as Councilmember McGee had talked about, backyard composting, but how that could work with multifamily units in these bigger apartment complexes. I think all those pieces have to be discussed and considered when we're talking about a citywide system. Hopefully in the short term, we are talking about 2 different timelines. What are we going to do with the compost program now, and where can we get it to? Can it be citywide, and what does that look like? My hope and suggestion would be that the city do an extension, at least for a short term, as the mayor had suggested, for 1 or 2 months, just to dive deep into this, to see what exactly the city wants to do, what is feasible with the costs, and so on and so forth. So, but then really thinking about it that longer term, 4,000 accounts participating, or 5,000 when we include schools and other institutions across the city. I will share Andrea's sentiment as well. The opt-in system is really the best way forward. I think the research shows that. I guess one of the questions I would ask would be, how could we envision the recycling system in the city of Athens if it was not a system where everyone paid that support fee? Would we see the diversion numbers? Would we see the participation that we see now? Given its long history over the past 20, 30 years, I think using that as a pivot point to look at the compost. We think of it, compost and recycling as separate, but really it's one of the same thing, just with different materials. So really trying to look at it all encompassing. From an operations standpoint, I want the city to consider, and I think I mentioned this last time, we've been trying to keep this going with the idea of getting towards a citywide service with keeping the compost operation up and running. So the ultimate fate of that is up for grabs. We're going to be discussing that amongst the board members. It has to be financially sustainable for us as well. So, I talked about that critical mass last time and what that could be. So we want to, I want you to keep in your mind that, if we decide not to do it now, it's going to be a lot harder to get it back up and running later. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like or what the board members will do, but I just want everyone to keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Jeff?
Right now, we have 299 participants in the program. That's what expires soon. By our calculations, the city is subsidizing each one of those participants to the tune of $20.65 a month. So to keep it going, that's what we'd have to charge, $20.65, cover the subsidy. Now that's with 299. Now you mentioned 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 participants in the future. Now, what would they be paying?
I guess it all depends on that ultimate number. Sorry to interrupt, but you already know how many participants we have in the recycling program, and that's what, $2
50 cents a month?
350, I believe.
Okay, 350. So it seems to me it'd be logical then, why would composting, pickup, and disposal be more expensive than recycling?
Well, I'm suggesting that at the 4,000 participation level, that it can be less than recycling. So around the $5 mark. Our latest bid for the City of Athens for recycling services was just over $6 a month for recycling, and the other bidders were in that similar price range. So I think it could be cheaper. You know, you have different processing costs. Collection costs are similar but different. We have different processing costs in the end. But I do believe it could be cheaper depending on how many people participated. And at that 4,000 account numbers, which is what's in the city bid scope, for the accounts for those 4 units or less, that it could be, you know, around that $5 mark.
Per month?
Yes.
Okay.
Further questions?
I'll pass to.
Thank you. Recently, as everyone here knows, we had quite a little discussion concerning the future of our contract with the recycling center. And the current situation is we're increasing rates by about $400,000 for the next year. Do you know the exact figure?
It's right close to that, yes.
Okay. And so my question is, that doesn't include the composting. So do you in general have an idea as to if the city does another year of composting, how much of a increase that would be for the overall picture as we're trying to figure out adjusting rates for everyone in the city of Athens? Because people really want to know how much their bills are going to be going up. Some people can afford the $20. They've sent me little emails saying, I'll pay $20, but other people can't.
Well, I want to back up and give a clarification on that. So our current price to the City of Athens is around $1.36 million. That's as it stands before any extension for 2019, 2020.
Right.
It was raised significantly, you know, from the 2015 contract. But I go back to, you know, the rates haven't changed. Even when we put in a bid in 2015, it was my understanding that when we were charging them, which was just a little over $1 million, like closer to 1.1, that the rates needed to be changed then as well. You know, looking at other communities across the area, no one is paying $6 a month for their trash. You know, and that range in the City of Athens is quite low. I just looked to a community in Pennsylvania that just bid out their municipal recycling collection for 5 townships, and I think the average price was around $16 a month for trash. So it's not apples to apples, but looking at other communities, at Lancaster at $14 or $15 for trash. So I think it's long. You know, we really need to examine that, I think, on a holistic basis to get to that. But in that bid that we submitted to the City of Athens in March, those prices was 2 prices, one that included compost and one that didn't. The all-inclusive, the included compost was just a little over $1.5 million. With the compost, you know, the bid price was $132,000.
Okay.
Could I ask one other question? This is just a question about future increases in your costs, because I don't see a lot of progress in the recycling industry when I read the national news and the Guardian and stuff. You anticipate any breakthrough in recycling, or is it going to be this continued incredible subsidy that everyone has to do? And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying everyone has to subsidize the recycling industry right now.
Yeah, I wish I could answer that. I mean, I think we've hopefully hit bottom with the recycling markets, but I think the recovery is going to be in the order of years. So it's going to take a while. So we have to look at those costs as they are now and anticipate they're not going to change much. In our bid to the city, we included some cost escalation features in there to kind of account for that, so there's no big jumps or surprises. You know, accounting for fuel, things that could change very rapidly. The cost of landfill, which can go up dramatically, which is out of everyone's control. And the third thing would be the commodities market, where we all kind of share in the costs, whatever they may be. If we want to continue recycling, whatever that cost is, we're going to be upfront about it.
Thank you. I'd like to also point out that we are going to go through this process of reformulating our bidding process about the recycling and the garbage as we go forward. I know Andy Stone would like to get it done and started within the next 6 months. And so that would make the bidding process for the recycling, compost, and garbage a more apples to apples sort of comparison to, whereas there was some confusion through the last bidding process that it wasn't necessarily included and where it was included and stuff. So I think that this is more holistically going forward, because it is a big, I mean, it is kind of one end of our ecosystem. We have water and sewer and refuse. So I think that that will be something that the administration and members of City Council will go forward with. Questions? Out in the audience?
Thank you.
Judith Brauman, 12 Northwood Drive. I guess what I wonder is why we would have to pay for something you can do in your backyard. I mean, there's a lot of people that like to compost in those big barrels, so then there wouldn't be any extra charges to anybody.
Thank you. I don't know if we've already come up with that idea, though. I think opt-in versus opt-out is something that would help to address those sort of things.
$20 a month is a lot of money.
Yeah. So, other questions? Administration?
The administration does concur with Athens Hocking Recycling that we really would like to work on a long-term plan for the composting. I think council members heard last week from Mayor Patterson that he was highly supportive of it. And there is a possible workaround solution that administration would like to present, and that's the possibility of incorporating into the Athens City Code as part of the special hauling rates that there could be a pickup for citizens for the composting, and that this might be a way to continue it on the short-term basis while we do work on the long-term plan for what new rates and whether it's opt-in and opt-out and what the actual fees might be for wider participation. But that suggestion from the administration on that special haul fee would allow all the people who are currently in the system, those 299 people, to continue, but it would be the $20.65. That's what the administration is suggesting, that they continue it at the rate at which that had been calculated last week, that those were the costs.
And this is a short-term solution.
For a few months while we work on the longer-term solutions on it.
Great. Other questions?
A comment.
Okay, who? Sarah?
I was wondering if perhaps Andrea would be willing to come back up and answer a question from the survey. Do you have a sense of, like, if we go forward with this plan of implementing like a special haul that is an option for everyone who's currently in the program, currently participating, to continue participating, but they would have this monthly fee. Do you have an idea of how many people do you think would remain in the program? It's hard to say. I know I included the graph last time of what people said they'd be willing to pay. I think it was pretty close, around like 35% each of paying between, like $0 and $5 for the program, and then between like $5 and $10. I forget the exact numbers that I put on there, but $5 and $10 they'd be willing to pay per month. And it was interesting, and so this is something, I could even potentially send out another survey to get a more detailed response if you're interested in that. Something that I thought was interesting from the survey is that on the whole, some people did give a lower cost range that they'd be willing to pay for compost, and my sort of guess as to why that is because compost is such a new service, and for most people, trash and recycling is really a given that the city provides that as a municipal service. But composting is just so new for people that they're not, maybe used to having it at that high of a rate. So yeah, it was mostly between like the $5 and $10 range that people were willing to pay.
Yeah.
what the administration is proposing would mean we'd have to make an amendment to Title I to
put the fee in.
put the
Yes.
fee in. But once we do that, we are opening this program up to not just the 299 that are currently in it, but to everybody in the city. So I guess, well, that's a comment, and then the question is, are you prepared to handle that?
Because,
I mean,
well,
if suddenly, and this is just purely theoretical, of course, 1,000 people said, hey, I can get in this, can you now start picking it up?
it's a challenge.
Hello again. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some time frame in there, for prep time, like, we have to deliver buckets to people. But as far as the collection, once those buckets are in place, once the infrastructure is in place, that collection can start right away. If you think of the 300 households or the 299 that we're providing service to now, we're driving right past the rest of them. So we're just not getting them because they're not, there's no bucket set out. So obviously there's some logistical considerations and some timelines associated with that. But when we put in our bid for 1,000 households, we were more than prepared to do that. And even citywide collection, to get the infrastructure in place, but the collection could happen right away.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you. Thank you. So I guess we will know more. We will have to answer the question about Title I and when that could be changed.
Right.
Because
So one option is a special session later this week,
Thursday.
on Thursday.
Well, if it's not done this week, we can't do it at
Then,
all.
right, it expires, the pilot project expires.
Pizza. And this is a great way to segue into our another agenda item tonight is, I know a lot of people are very concerned about the climate crisis and our crisis with recyclables and our energy footprint, both as a city and as individuals. The state legislature is doing one of their favorite things that they like to do and using their preemption powers to basically force cities and villages across Ohio to basically support the plastics industry. So as members of council, when they put forward the House Bill of 242, we decided that we need to make a stand about it. Jeff is going to read it, though the first parts of it you've heard before over and over again about preemption. Preemption is the state legislative people are whittling away our ability to make decisions that affect us, that our values, and affect us economically. And this is just another example of it. And we need to somehow put a stop to it because it is undemocratic, and it's so far away from what we want to do as a sustainable city and have a zero waste ethic that we have in the city. So I would like Jeff to read it, please.
Thank you. Before I read, I just want to state that I'm very much in favor of a city making its own rules and regulations, regulating itself. I think the local citizens know what they want. We may not all agree, and obviously you have to go with majority rule, but I think that we're in a better position to know what our community needs rather than the people in Columbus. They should be dealing with things that concern the state. We should be concerned with things that concern the local community. And things like local income taxes and how we collect them, or things such as whether or not we want an ordinance governing noise pollution at night or so on. Those are the local decisions. And I think if it comes to things like disposable plastic and pollution and water resources and so on, that's a local issue, it's a local problem, it should be solved locally. When the state takes away our ability to regulate ourselves, then essentially we just become, subservient to whatever interest group that the various politicians in Columbus are subservient to. So, be that as it may, I'll read the proposed resolution. A resolution declaring opposition to House Bill 242 as it relates to preemption, control, and the use of disposable single-use plastic. Whereas, as guaranteed by the Constitution of the State of Ohio, the City of Athens affirms its right to local self-government, and whereas it is not in the interest of the citizens of Ohio to have local issues decided by the Ohio General Assembly, and whereas the Ohio General Assembly has become more restrictive with local governments and the will of their citizens to govern themselves in their own self-interest, and whereas the Ohio General Assembly continues to take away local government rights to further the interests of business corporations or to increase state tax revenues, and whereas the Athens City Council has a compelling public interest in discouraging the wasteful use of disposable single-use plastic and mitigating the negative impact disposable single-use plastic has on our environment, and whereas the City of Athens is committed to zero waste and sustainability, and whereas the pollution from disposable single-use plastic imposes external cleanup, removal, and processing costs on our communities, and whereas plastic waste is not biodegradable and recycled plastic suffers from polymer degradation, limiting its useful life as a recyclable material, inevitably resulting in non-biodegradable microplastic particle pollution, and whereas discarded disposable single-use plastic is a major source of litter, pollute our open spaces, harm and kill wildlife, clog storm drains resulting in localized flooding, end up as debris in our neighborhoods and waterways contributing to blight, and whereas the precipitous increase in plastic production and plastic consumption over the past 70 years has resulted in approximately 269,000 tons of globally distributed plastic waste pollution, particularly in oceans, lakes, and other marine waterways, and whereas Athens City Council desires to combat the polluting effects and accompanying blight caused by disposable single-use plastic on the environment of Athens, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Athens, Ohio. Section 1, Athens City Council hereby declares its opposition to House Bill 242 as it continues to preempt municipal home rule authority by prohibiting municipalities the opportunity to govern the use of disposable single-use plastic. Section 2, Athens City Council urges the Ohio General Assembly to give full consideration to the harmful effects of disposable single-use plastic has on our environment. Section 3, the Clerk of Council is hereby directed to deliver a copy of this resolution to Senator Frank Hoagland, Representative Jay Edwards, and the Ohio Municipal League. Section 4, the resolution shall take in effect at the earliest date permitted by law.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Okay.
Do you have one? I just wanted to, because Jennifer Cochran is no longer with us here on council. That I wanted to just affirm her the work that she did on this.
Very true. Yes. Yes. Sorry.
I absolutely support this resolution, and whether the residents of Athens want there to be fees on plastic containers or carry-out containers or single-use containers, it should be up to the residents of Athens. That should be something that we have the choice to decide for ourselves. And the state legislature is trying to take that, along with many other home rule authority and choices, away from local communities. And so we're going to speak up about it.
Right. Administration?
Just want to comment that the administration's in agreement. The Ohio Municipal League testified before the legislature last week about this, calling it a case of overruling local government, and kind of mirrors what Councilmember Grace is saying. The city of Bexley has passed an ordinance banning the single-use plastic bags, and they feel that they think that they have worked through a workable solution at the local level.
Right. I think too, before we open up discussion in the audience, I think that the legislature is overreaching, and maybe Jay Edwards and Frank Hoagland don't understand what they're doing. So what I'm going to do as an individual citizen is I'm going to collect and clean my plastics that I have to go then, now that recycling isn't available for them, put in the garbage. But instead of putting them in the garbage, I'm going to collect them and send them to Frank and Jay. And I want everybody in Athens to do that, because this is just, it's outrageous. The other things that they've preempted is income tax, fracking, and doing ability to protect our single source aquifer from fracking, or hazardous waste injection. They're doing it every day, and it's not democratic, and I think that they need to be reminded that it's the citizens that put them into office and that pay them, and not to be shills for the plastic industry. And that's what they're trying to do, because they're concerned that they're not going to have any sort of commercial market, because people know that plastic is bad, so they're trying to shove it down our throat. So, thank you. Can we open it up for discussion in the audience? We have 3 minutes if you'd like to get up and say anything. So, just who you are, and then write down your name. Thank you.
What?
Write down your person on the sheet. So we have a...
I'm not interested. My name is Nancy Pierce. I have been part of a group that started actually in response to the bill that's now House Bill 242. It was before the end of the year introduced, but then it didn't pass, so it got dropped, as happens, and then got reintroduced in May. But meanwhile, we had decided that we would like to revisit the issue of some sort of plastics regulation in Athens. And we looked at Jennifer Cochran's statute and the resolution that got passed after that. And we're trying to come up with actually a timeline. We thought maybe we would try to introduce an ordinance in the fall. And also we're thinking about talking with businesses and citizens around the county before we came up with a design for a resolution, for an ordinance. And had a couple of our people were focusing on education of kids to empower them to with facts and information, because they're very concerned about climate change. So it got reintroduced in May, and we sort of had the wind taken out of our sails, and we're going to continue to work on it. But I am going to dare to say some things about what I think about this whole preemption strategy. I think a lot of journalists and writers around the country are examining just exactly what's going on with the extreme right and what's going on with this whole preemption strategy that they're promoting, and how they feel like citizens don't pay as much attention to the state legislature, and also that local councils and governments are much more responsive to people. So if they can control things at the state level, they can protect, plastics. So the Nation magazine, I don't know how many people feel put a lot of credibility in that magazine. I put a lot of credibility in what they say. Reported that the oil and gas industry, with fracking, producing the costs of natural gas have been down, and there is a product that comes out of that called ethane, and they can make a profit off that ethane with these cracker factories producing plastics. And the intent is to increase by threefold the plastics production in the United States. So the oil and gas industry needs protection. like Chris was saying. So let's keep local governments from banning the use of plastics. So, anyway,
Thank you.
I really appreciate your resolution. I think it's beautifully written, and it really speaks to the need to address this issue.
Well, I'd like to take 100% credit for it.
You can't?
I can't.
Well, who would
It's a
get credit
team,
for it?
a
Well,
team
I'm not
effort.
gonna tell you.
Team effort. So,
She said right over there.
others? Gentlemen? Others, please.
My name is Jana Lee Stock. I am a retired nurse, and I'd like to speak from the health perspective, because I have a little bit of a, I guess, unique perspective, having been a hospice nurse for many years and then becoming a school nurse. And, you know, if you travel around the county and you visit the cemeteries and you look at the markers on the cemeteries, you will see children 6, 7, 8 years old that have died. And that was from the time when diphtheria, polio, measles, mumps, infectious diseases were rampant because we didn't have vaccinations. Our country did a marvelous job of coming together and addressing a crisis. And it took everybody to address that crisis. Right now we have a crisis in our country and across this globe. And I would like to see everyone come together and fully recognize that we can't sit around and do nothing about this. I just read an article about microplastics that a study was done where they took stool samples from 7, I believe it was 7 different countries, and microplastics were found in the stool samples from 7 countries. Microplastics were found in the air in the Pyrenees Mountains, 60 miles away from the closest industrial city in a very remote, pristine area. If you've ever done litter pickup in this county, you will find every type of plastic dotting the roadsides. I just don't believe we can put our head in the sand anymore, and this is much bigger than this resolution. This local community needs to step up and do whatever it takes to bring business people together, educators, parents, everybody on the same page that we have to address our carbon footprint and the pollution, because it is not fair to our children what they're inheriting. I'm sorry if I'm getting passionate, it just drives me crazy. Yeah. I don't know that I can say anything more except that this is more than House Bill 242. This is taking the next step beyond this banning of the ban and stepping up. And if it gets passed, then deciding that we're going to take it on ourselves and do something real about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
One thing I really want, my name's Ed Newman. I live on 30 Courier Street. One thing I want to add to this, you know, while our state legislature is ridiculously out of step with anything, many issues, the European Union and Canada, just within the last few months, are getting ready to ban single-use plastics. Whole countries, like whole bands of countries. So I think, you know, Jennifer Cochran, you know, was sort of our vanguard earlier on, and we need to pick up the mantle, and which you guys are doing. And I think there's a lot of support in this community to back you, and thank you very much for doing that.
Anybody else? Thank you.
I'm Kathy Hecht. I live at 94 2nd Street, and this is my personal opinion here. I get up about other things, but this whole idea just boggles my mind that they would even try this, and I applaud City Council and the other people speaking out, Nancy, Janalee, Ed. We're just going backwards. It's one thing to not do anything about it on a statewide level, but then to say that we can't do what we want locally, it's just so backwards. It's like the climate deniers and just everything else that happens. It's wrong. But what I really want to add to this is we can fight it, and we should, at the local level. But we also need to fight it at the state level. And there are ways to find the names. Chris mentioned a couple of our representatives, but really all of them, because they're the ones trying to make this decision right now. And we need to let them know in the numbers. It's the numbers that they look at. If they don't hear from people, then they think it's okay to do what they're doing. So I agree both ways. I worked with Jennifer. There was going to be a fee for the plastic bags when she was trying to get something passed, and I worked with her. And this whole movement that they've got about denying us, and you know how I feel about the income tax revenue. So I just wanted to add that and to make sure people consider going outside of Athens.
Administration?
I'd just like to add that the sponsors of the bill are Representatives George Lang of Westchester and Don Jones of Freeport.
So they should get some garbage.
George Lang and Don Jones. Yep.
Maybe we can get a U-Haul and take it up. Civil unrest here. I didn't say that. So, any other pipe? So, this will be read later in our special session. So, thank you. Any other questions about this? Okay. Now we have the last of our agenda for our committee meetings, which is the Finance and Personnel by Jeff. Thank you.
Madam Temporary President Pro Tem.
Just call me Chris.
Goes. Just, I think basically one item, appropriations and transfers. We have authorized a transfer of funds, $9,300 from a line 270.940, lands improvement, to put $5,000 into 270.940 and $4,300 into 270.940.5323 professional services. Trying to see if there's any more information. This is basically requested by our Director of Arts, Parks, and Recreation, Terry Moore. And does the administration have anything further? Does anyone else?
Right. Is this going to have to be expedited on our special session pizza party?
I don't think so.
No, it does not.
Okay.
There's nothing here about doing that. See, everything else I think has been already covered, the water meter truck and so on, and I think that's all.
Great. Thank you.
That concludes the committee.
Great. Thank you. And we're going to go directly into our special session. You can just plow right through it. Patrick. Okay. We're having a special session tonight, which means that it's a limited agenda. So we will establish a quorum. We have 2 members missing tonight. We have a quorum. We have a quorum, but we will not do any suspensions or those sort of things. Basically, it's going to be mostly Pete Katsas. Who's
Thank you.
Okay. Ordinance. These are ordinances for third reading. Third reading is the time that we will ask that whether the ordinance will be adopted or not. Ordinance 5419, an ordinance authorizing fiber optic network construction to traffic signals on East State Street, Project 328, and authorizing an intertransferred fund, introduced by Member Katsas.
President Pro Tem, thank you. And at this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 05419.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Well,
Oh, does anybody want any
would you like me-
discussion?
Yeah, I can just give
Sorry.
just a little bit of clarification before we start throwing
Right, sorry.
hands in the air.
See, this is such a hard job. I appreciate
Yeah.
Chris's ability to do this. Oh, my goodness.
So this is a request from administration to transfer a balance, an unappropriated balance from the TIF Fund 593. This is the State Street TIF Fund. To the Street Fund 220, the total amount is $135,000, and the requested work is to do fiber optic cable to connect all of our street lights down there.
Administration, have any questions?
We all, speak for the administration, but all the citizens too. Anything we can do to streamline traffic on East State Street.
Great. Other questions? Now can we vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. Thank you. It's been adopted. So I'll get it right this way. Ordinance 5519, an ordinance authorizing design engineering services for the West Union State Improvements Project, number 322, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Pro Tem, thank you. At this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 05519.
Second.
And just as a reminder, this is for engineering services to look at West Union and what kind of improvements need to be considered as we move forward on our last major thoroughfare being redesigned, redeveloped for the next 20, 30, I don't know how long, we'll see. The future.
The future.
And that total amount, I'm sorry, let me get $615,000.
Questions from council, administration?
Just good timing on this, particularly as the university's moving forward with the new medical facility on West Union. And this is a time we've tried in the past to coordinate projects, so I think this would be another opportunity for that. And we have a number of changes, too, and shifts in some of the business locations on West Union Street, so this will be an improvement for it.
Good. Thank you. All those in favor of adoption of 5519, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ordinance 5719, an ordinance declaring a real and present emergency, thus obviating the formal bidding procedure for residential and franchise area refuse and recycling collection services. This is introduced by all members of council who would like to speak to it. Okay, I will. We've had a lot of citizen participation, especially around this. I think that's awesome. And I think that it's a really important thing to go forward with, so that I ask that we adopt 5719.
Second.
Thank you. We have seen how we have to also update our bidding process and such too, of this process. Is there questions, concerns from council? Patrick?
I just wanted to make sure that the citizens understood what the price for the contract would be, and I think we should state that so that people are aware of that. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Administration?
Just like to thank people's patience, their interest, the ideas that were generated when the citizens participated in the past few weeks of discussion, and the administration looks forward to evaluating the bid process and working forward on that.
All those in favor? Is there other discussion? No? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ordinance 5819, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application to participate in the state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs for Issue 1 funds to execute contracts as required, introduced by Councilmember McGee.
Yes, this is, from what I understand it, an ordinance that would authorize the mayor to seek funding from certain sources for the Stimson Avenue project, I believe. And although it is a little ambiguous as far as authorizing him to sign certain things, to authorize to enter into any agreements as may be necessary and appropriate for obtaining the financial assistance, I assume that because it is limited to that purpose, that the administration would be careful in actually signing any such agreements. But this ordinance by itself would authorize the mayor to do so.
And this is pretty standard language for contractual, what we ask for. So, Pete Katsas is going to abstain.
And is that an issue? Is there still enough? I mean,
No, it's third.
okay.
It's third reading.
All right. Okay.
We don't have to.
All right.
So,
I would move to submit this to approval of council for a vote.
Second.
is there other discussion?
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's okay. Discussion from administration.
Just trying to coordinate how we piece together larger projects like this, because this is a multi-million-dollar project that we'll be doing for the improvements on Stimson Avenue. And so the Issue 1 funds would be great. And
Right.
appreciate the ability to apply for the funds.
And it's just one of the first steps.
Right.
These are multi-year projects. So all those that want to adopt 5813, 5819, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Abstain,
You abstain.
just to make it official.
Official. Okay. Thank you. Motion passes. 5919 is an ordinance amending the 2019 appropriation ordinance. This is introduced by Councilmember Ira.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 5919.
Second?
Just to refresh everyone's memory, this basically, we're moving some money around and depositing some money. We're going to put $4,200 to the general fund, FIRE 1.101, $28,961 to general fund, FIRE 101.208, for state grant award used to purchase new radio equipment, and $114,000 to general fund, other administration, 101, transaction code 300 for a refund check received from the Bureau of Workmen's Compensation, increasing the total appropriations by said amount.
Great. Thank you. Questions? Does the auditor have any input right now? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Administration? Okay. Audience? Okay. So do you move to adopt the
I
ordinance?
thought I did.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'm getting it now. I just have to go through 18 different ordinances to get it right? Practice. Okay, ordinance 6019, an ordinance authorizing the auditor to enter into a merchant agreement with Government Payment Services, GPS, Inc., to allow the Income Tax Department to accept credit card payments. This is introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt 6019.
Second?
The ordinance is, as the title says, we have the auditor in the office if she needs to speak any more about why allowing people to use their credit cards to pay their taxes would be a good idea, which, for the life of me, I can't see why not.
Well, I think in this day and age, we all recognize the fact that people like to use their cards, and there are a couple reasons why we chose this company. They deal with other government entities, and they allow us to take credit card payments over the phone, which is not happening anywhere else in the city. And their security program, using tokens to code people's credit card numbers, is really the best thing you can do right now. They might come up with something later on, but it's what we do with Chase Bank for our bank accounts. And so I think those are some pretty good reasons aside from providing that service to our taxpayers.
Thank you. Other discussion? Questions? Okay. All in favor of adopting ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Motion is adopted. Ordinance 6319, an ordinance closing a portion of West State Street between Court and Congress on Saturday, July 13th, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and closing a portion of Court Street between Washington and Carpenter and State Street between Congress and College on Saturday, July 20th, 2019, from 6 a.m. to midnight for Ohio Brew Week, introduced by Member Katsas.
President Pro Tem, at this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 06319.
Second.
And this is two Saturdays, July 13th and July 20th, with Brew Week having an opening event on Saturday, July 13th, and then the last call event being on Saturday, July 20th.
Questions? Comments? These have all been read over and over. They're pretty common when we go through the summer street closures. So, all in favor of adoption of 6319, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 6419, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the uptown area on Saturday, July 13th and Saturday, July 20th, 2019 for Ohio Brew Week, introduced by Member Katsas.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 06419.
Second.
And this is two of three ordinances in order to allow Brew Week to work on our city streets. This, of course, is suspending our noise ordinance for both that Saturday, July 13th and Saturday, July 20th event.
Okay. Questions? Comments? The motion has been put up for adoption. All those in accordance with adoption, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Negative? Opposed? Thank you. The motion has been adopted. I am never doing this again.
You're doing a great job.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you do it. My goodness. I'm going to really get Kent when he comes home. Okay. The next ordinance, Ordinance 6519, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on Saturday, July 13th, 2019, and Saturday, July 20th, 2019, during the Ohio Brew Week event, introduced by Member Katsas.
President Pro Tem Fall, thank you. At this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 06519.
Second.
And this just suspends our usual standard vending and vendors ordinances so that Brew Week can do what they need to do on our streets during those two dates, Saturday, July 13th and Saturday, July 20th.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? The ordinance has been put up for adoption. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The measure has been adopted. Ordinance 6719, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the uptown area on Saturday, August 10th until 1 a.m. on Sunday, August 11th, 2019 for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival, introduced by Member Katsas.
President Pro Tem, thank you. I'd like to make a motion at this time to adopt Ordinance 06719.
Second.
And this is for suspending our noise ordinance for Boogie on the Bricks, which will happen on Saturday, August 10th. I would like to mention that I did attend the AYUBA meeting, the Athens Uptown Business Association, and did listen to some of the business owners that were in attendance there. My two takeaways were, and I think this a lot, this comes from some of the stuff that came forward in the newspaper, and the way that they felt, and it was mostly, I think, one was no promoter should really speak for any business. Business definitely has the numbers and understands how their business operates, and what happens to a business when different street closures happen. And I don't know if that was what was trying to be conveyed through the paper. I know sometimes we tend to have different things tend to show up at that, in that medium. The second one that I also that I got which was a little interesting, was the Nelsonville Music Festival. On its busiest day, the Saturday event, they have attendance numbers of 7,500, and I believe this event has been said to attract 15,000. So it's. And I can't remember who said this quote, but you are entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. So I'm looking forward to seeing 15,000 people up there on Saturday, August 10th. So thank you.
Other questions, concerns, comments? The ordinance 67 has been put up for adoption. All those in favor of adoption, please say aye.
Aye.
Noes? 6719 has been adopted. Now we have a one reading resolution, which we will not read again because it's really long. Resolution 0619, a resolution declaring opposition to House Bill 242 as it relates to preemption of local control and the use of disposable single-use plastics, introduced by all members of council. I would put forward that we adopt 0619.
Second.
Thank you. I just want to say one of the reasons why we do these sort of resolutions is because it's an educational medium for us to be able to put out there what we see as council, and how our ability and our job to be able to protect the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens that we are beholden to and committed to protecting them. So this is one reason why we have to put these things out there, is because otherwise people may not know about it, because sometimes the media is not as up or may not be as concerned about this sort of thing. So, all those in favor of adoption of the resolution 0619, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we're getting down to number 4. Announcements and other businesses. Their reappointment. Okay, we have a reappointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. Richard Vetter, who's been working very hard on our historic he was appointed to fill out a appointment of somebody else who had to resign, and now we would like to appoint him to his own term for a 4-year term on the Historic Commission. So I have a move.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor without Richard Vetter helping out on the Historic Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to say thank you very much to all the people who volunteer for all our commissions and committees. It's super important because we can't do our work without them. Any other announcements and other businesses? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A moment before we close tonight, is Zach Schreiber still back in the control room? If he could come out for a minute, we promise to make it a very short but sweet. want to honor him. Zach Shriver's been a member of the government channel team for 2 years and 8 months. He's a recent graduate of Ohio University. And tonight's his last night with us for City Council. So we just wanted to say thank you. You've done a wonderful job. And you have a new job, correct?
Yeah, I'll be starting at WTAP in Parkersburg in 2 weeks. So,
So we can look for you there.
Yeah.
We can look for
Come
you
back and
there.
visit us, please.
I will.
Good. All right. Many thanks.
Thank you guys.
I don't know. Great. Thank you. So I would have
Make a motion, we adjourn.
thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Never again.